Besem Arbwer World om Feskadus Adwamla Amen. Besem Arbwer World om Feskadus Adwamla Amen. Besem Arbwer World om Feskadus Adwamla Amen. Good morning, blessed love, on this Saturday, the Sabbath. And as some of you already know, I always wear the Nutella on the Sabbath just to mark the end of a week and the beginning of a new week. So today is starting with Leviticus 1. And it's day 91 of the readings. It's quite a short chapter today, so what I thought I'd do is just start with a bit of an overview of the book of Leviticus in general, and then go in with the reading. And it's actually good doing this research, because it's stuff that I used to know, some of it, and then completely forgotten over the years, because I asked yesterday who had written these books, Exodus and Leviticus, and when I looked it up, it said Moses, and there's actually, like I say, I was like, oh yeah, Moses. So the first 5 books of the Bible are called the Pentateuch, and that constitutes as the Torah in the Jewish faith. So Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. They're the first 5 books of the Bible, and they're all attributed to Moses. Some scholars do attribute them to say, actually, no, I don't think there's a consistent voice, and think that there's a different person who wrote them, but there isn't really a suggestion of who that other author might be, so it generally gets attributed to Moses, and that includes within the Ethiopian Orthodox faith as well, that Moses is through divine intervention and divine inspiration, that Moses is credited as the author. And Leviticus is a book of law. The word itself, Leviticus, means pertaining to Levi or concerning Levi. And Levi, if you remember, they're the priestly tribe. So Aaron was of the tribe of Levi, and also then his sons were of the tribe of Levi, and they are the priestly order, the priestly tribe. So the book of Leviticus very much concerns the role of the priests, the role of worship, the role of kind of communal observance of worship, and it sets down certain laws in terms of dietary laws and these kind of things. So there's a general kind of overview. It's building on the covenant that we had in Exodus. This bit is building on those kind of bigger communal ideas of what it means to live a holy life, and as a nation, what it means to live a holy life. So it's starting to really position now the priestly order and how they're due to function with the people, but also what's the people's responsibility to live in a holy life in communion with God. So you could call Leviticus a book of the moral framework of the people, if you like. We've had some of the highlights, and now it gets into the detail of what it means to be holy, and what is the moral framework that's expected from the children of God. So that's the kind of the overview, really. So I'll get into the first chapter and we take it from there. So Leviticus 1, give thanks for these few words. Moses called to Yahweh and spoke to him from the tent of the meeting, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and tell them, when any one of you offers an offering to Yahweh, you shall offer your offering of the livestock and the herd and from the flock. If his offering is a burnt offering from the herd, he shall offer a male without defect. He shall offer it at the door of the tent of the meeting, that he may be accepted before Yahweh. He shall lay his hands on the head of the burnt offering, and shall be accepted for him to make atonement for him. He shall kill the bull before Yahweh. Aaron's sons, the priests, shall present the blood and sprinkle the blood around on the altar that is at the door of the tent of the meeting. He shall skin the burnt offering and cut it into pieces. The son of Aaron the priest shall put fire on the altar and lay wood on it on the fire. And Aaron's sons, the priests, shall lay the pieces, the head, and the fat in order of the wood that is on the fire which is on the altar. He shall wash its innards and its legs with water. The priest shall burn all of it on the altar for a burnt offering, the offering made by fire, of a pleasant aroma to Yahweh. If his offering is from the flock, from the sheep, or from the goats, for a burnt offering, he shall offer a male without defect. He shall kill it on the north side of the altar before Yahweh. Aaron's sons, the priests, shall sprinkle its blood around on the altar. He shall cut it into pieces with its head and its fat. The priest shall lay them in order on the wood that is on the fire which is on the altar, but the innards and the legs he shall wash with water. The priest shall offer the whole and burnt it on the altar. It is a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, and a pleasant aroma to Yahweh. If his offering to Yahweh is a burnt offering of the birds, then he shall offer his offering from turtle doves or from the young pigeons. The priest shall bring it to the altar, and wring off its head, and burn it on the altar, and its blood shall be drained on the side of the altar. And he shall take it away, its crop and its feathers, and cast it aside from the altar on the east part, and place on the ashes. He shall tear it by its wings, but shall not divide it apart. The priest shall burn it on the altar, and the wood that is on the fire. It is a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, of a pleasant aroma to Yahweh. Give thanks for these few words. So, burnt offering, we hear a lot there about sacrifice of animals, and in some quite graphic detail there about how to kill the animals on the altar. We don't do that today. This was a different time and a different period in terms of the expectations of people, in terms of how they honoured God. And very much the interpretation of this and the whole burnt offerings in the Bible and in the Old Testament is then what happens in the New Testament with Jesus and the coming of Jesus, because Jesus replaced the need for the burnt offerings of animal sacrifice, because Jesus himself was the sacrifice. Jesus came as an unblemished person to offer himself to the people. As it says in this chapter, the first male of the animal stock, of the livestock, they shall be without blemish. So the interpretation of how this foresees the New Testament is that Jesus became that firstborn, unblemished sacrifice for the people. And also as people ourselves, that we offer ourselves up for sacrifice, not in terms of to be killed, but by our kind of works and our deeds and our thoughts and our prayers and our, asking for forgiveness of sins, etc., that we offer ourselves up as the example and to live a holy life, to live a godly life. And again, this is what the book of Leviticus is very much concerning. How do we as humans try to attain a level of godliness, of holiness, is living in the right way, doing right by each other, our neighbours, with respect, etc. So it's setting a high bar. So setting Leviticus off with the example of the burnt offering is an example of a symbolic example of actually this is burning this offering to God, but this is no less expected by ourselves, by the sacrifices that we make and the promises that we make and the example that we should be living up to. What are we prepared to sacrifice, etc., etc. And this kind of comes to resolution or fulfillment in the New Testament when Jesus shows himself to be the example of the sacrifice to God in the name of people. So yeah, I think it's a very kind of thoughtful, reflectful beginning to Leviticus. And again, as I say, Leviticus is very much about setting the moral framework for the people and that guidance and advice and rules as well. But it is that expectation that God now has with the people. So I will leave it there on this Sabbath. So have a blessed day, all that you get up to, and God willing, more tomorrow. So give thanks, blessed love, and glory to God.